Microphone? Yes. All right. Perfect. Well, welcome to Robbie Burns night at the Lion's Head. Troy, how many years have you been doing this? 14 years. I think this is the only Robbie Burns night of the area, if I'm correct.
One in Nelson and there's one in Trip.
Okay, this is the only Robbie Burns night of the 50s. And so I think we should, by round of applause, thank Troy and his crew for putting this on.
Yeah, Carrie! Carrie,
And how about the Kootenai Kelties? What a band. So my name is Colin Ludwar, and I'm here to do the immortal speech, which is really talking about Robbie Burns and his legacy. Now, how many here, by show of hands, have come to this one before? So as you know, normally the immortal speech is done by either a Scottish gentleman, like the fella who did the Ode to Haggis, or Troy himself has done it.
Excuse me, sorry.
And as you would assume, with a last name like Ludwar, I don't have any Scottish blood in me. So tonight is a little different because you'll actually understand the words coming out of my mouth.
That's the first one.
So most people have seen the painting of Robbie Burns. There's one on the door there with the poster. I have one here as a prop. The thing I always think about is if you were back in the day an artist who was doing these portraits, of course you would try to embellish and make the picture of the person look better than they actually do. So I wanted to know what Robbie Burns actually looked like. And apparently some scientists did this for us. So they took his skull, an impression of his skull, and through forensic science, they ended up molding his face to say this is exactly what Robbie Burns looked like. And this is that picture. And you won't be able to see it. I'll pass it around, but this is actually what he looks like. And it's horrible. Like, he's a monster. But in 1780, that's a lady killer there. So I didn't know this. But when you get all your facts from Wikipedia, and I looked at Wikipedia, and at the start, there's a little section on his early life. At the end, there's a section on his poetry. But in the middle, by far the largest part, is on his sex life. And I thought, you know what, this is interesting. In previous Robbie Burns, I've never heard anyone talk about Robbie Burns and his womanizing. And I thought, that might be because I didn't understand who was speaking. But I thought I would go into detail on that because I think it actually has some impact. So Robert Burns, he had 12 different children with 4 different women. So he discovered his first child because he got his mother's servant pregnant just after he got his first wife pregnant. So the female flesh was always important to Robbie Burns. You can see it in his works of art. In fact, when he was a young man, he started a debating club for academics. And in that, to become a member, in his words, he said that every man proper for a member of this society must have a frank, honest, open heart, and above anything dirty or mean, so far so good, and must be a professed lover of one or more of the female sex. So that's where you had to become a member. They debated all sorts of things, but one of the most legendary debates apparently was on this topic. Suppose a young man, bred a farmer, but without any future, had it in his power to marry either of 2 women. The one a girl of large fortune, but neither handsome in person or agreeable in conversation, but who can manage the household affairs of the farm well. Or the other woman, a girl in every way agreeable in person, conversation, and behavior, but without any fortune. Which one shall you choose? So really important academic stuff back in the 1700s. But Colin, you're saying to yourself, 200 nations don't celebrate Robbie Burns Night every January 25th because the man can crush pussy. And while it's not directly that, I think there is some linkage. So with this big brood of children, of course you have to make some coin. And unfortunately, Robbie Burns wasn't very good at doing any actual work. He grew up on a farm, and his parents passed away. So him and his brother ended up taking over the farm, and unfortunately it failed. He worked a time in the textile industry, and while he was out with his lads having a pint, the factory burnt down. He was so desperate that he ended up having a contract with the Jamaican slave trade in order to be their bookkeeper. But he had to pay to get over to Jamaica. So at that time, it was his friends who said, hey, listen, I remember your eloquent debating skills when you were talking about whether you should, date the rich Ugmo or if you should have the poor hottie. I mean, that's what the society needs. You should put that work into publishing. So he did just that. He published his first book of poetry, and he was a success right off the bat. He sold out his first line of books within 2 weeks, and he became a Scottish hero. Something he did different is he made sure the Scottish dialect stayed in his poetry. To give you a sense of the difference in financial success, that bookkeeper job for the slave trade was going to pay him £30 for the year. On his third book of poetry, he ended up making £400. So it was quite a big difference. So many of you know that Robbie Burns died at the young age of 37. He didn't publish that first book of poetry until he was 27. So in 10 years' time, he ended up publishing over 100 songs and 650 poems. One of the most famous songs, which many of you will know, is the song that's sung on New Year's Eve after the ball drops. Yeah, so that's one of Robbie Burns' songs. He ended up influencing many artists after him. Many people have written, songs have been written, all based on his style. There is a bloodline legacy for Robbie Burns, as one would guess. He has 900 direct descendants. And in fact, and this is true, Troy is a direct descendant of Robbie Burns. He's one of the 900, yeah. So I want to raise a toast for women, for whiskey, and for song. We salute you, Robbie Burns.